Welcome back to Breaking Barriers. I am your host, Brisa Liliana de Angulo, and today I am joined by this wonderful person, Dr. Stacey Kevin Frick, and he is a keynote speaker, he is a writer, and he's someone who works a lot on empowerment revolution. It is so nice to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Did I say your name correctly?
Dr. Stacey Kevin Frick.
Yes. Nice. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what you do. I will, for the audience to get to know a little bit more about you.
Sure. And, I guess technically what I do falls into the personal development space. But really what I do is about happiness. It's about creating a life of fulfillment and impact based on your terms, based on the truth within you, and how that aligns with how you present that to the external world.
That's so important because sometimes we don't realize, but we only have one life, and we can't go through this life just surviving. We need to thrive and super live and feel that enjoyment of every day being the best day of your life. And it's beautiful that you go, you help others find that spark and that joy to find themselves, to be the best version they can and to really enjoy living. I would love to know a little bit about you beyond your title and your work. Who are you? And how did you become this?
It hasn't always been an easy road. My path was born from pain. I was growing up believing that my father was going to kill me. And although I have a beautiful relationship with my mother now, and she's an amazing person, I was just 14 years old when I was at a friend's house and she brought a bag of my belongings, gave my friend's mother $20 and told her to keep me. That instilled in me a sense that I was not worthy. I had no sense of who I was, and I didn't understand any of what was going on. And without a sense of who I was inside, I looked to the external world, and I was told that money, power, pleasure, fame, all of the accomplishments were how to become successful, accepted, and loved. And I gave my power to that belief. And I started building doctor, CEO, community leader. And I got to a point where the life I was leading on the outside was in such a misalignment with who I was at my core that it created a very real existential crisis. I didn't just feel conflicted.
Right.
I felt like I had failed at life. And I knew in that moment that I could make that moment my excuse and give up. Or I could make that moment my purpose. And if I could recognize how I got there, I could recognize how to get out of there. And if I could do that, and I could share that with somebody so that they never had to face that pain of failure, I had a responsibility to do so. And that's how the empowerment revolution was really born.
I love that. One thing that I do admire a lot about you is your authenticity. And many times we believe that we need to hide those wounds or those difficulties or those pain. But it is precisely those wounds, those pains that created the person that we are today. And not only that, but it paves the way to those who are suffering and feeling that there's no way out to see he can do it. I can do it too. Thank you for your openness. And I think in many situations, many of us grow with this sense of worthless, I'm not good enough, I'm here to be seen and not listened. And we experience betrayals. Like that, what you experienced was such a huge betrayal. And that affects us in the way that we trust, in the way that we see the world. And to be able to understand that those things that try to destroy us can become our biggest weapons to transform not only our lives, but other people's lives. Because I know how it feels to be there. I know how it feels to not want to wake up in the morning and wish that you never woke up. But I found a way through. I found a way to do it. And how beautiful that you, instead of being like, I'm going to put this away and I'm going to live this life completely disconnected, it's like, no, this is part of my history. And this is what makes me me. And this is what brings hopes to others. So that is very, very admirable because it's not theory.
Well, thank you. And what I found was the biggest betrayal was to myself.
Yeah.
And I had to shine light in the dark places and really acknowledge my flaws and take responsibility for my life. And when I was able to do that, I saw that at my core, I really am someone who is forgiving, compassionate, grateful. But I was also deeply flawed.
Yeah.
And I was able to accept that as the beautiful gift that made me whole. And when I could embrace my truth and my core values and break down all of those limiting beliefs and really disrupt my core programming, then I could align my true self with what I was putting into the external world. And that's when everything changed.
That's amazing. Could you share with us like a defining moment where you were like, okay, this is a moment where things need to change?
Yes. Looking back, it seems silly now, but it certainly didn't seem silly then. I was at the top of my game. I was CEO of a multi-hospital system. I was doctor. I was community leader. And I was cleaning a car. And I spilled bleach on the car mat. And it wasn't just a typical criticism of the moment. We all tell ourselves, this is why you don't deserve nice things. This was an overwhelming self-loathing that felt like a hot, wet blanket crushing me. And I knew that was an irrational response to something that was a fairly benign act.
Yeah.
And I felt the weight of that. And I didn't know how, and I didn't know exactly what at that moment, but I knew something had to change. And that was the moment that I started questioning. That was really when the conversation within myself started that said, okay, if it doesn't have to be like this, what could it be like?
I'm going back to the beginning of our conversation and how we are kind of programmed to believe that these are the things you have to do so that you're happy, so that you're successful, so that you are, and the more we pursue that, it's like this roulette that you have to do more and more to find something, but you keep getting farther and farther away from yourself because what you're trying is to get the approval of everybody else and the fear that someone is going to see who you really are. And what's paradoxical is that it's kind of the opposite. If you really want to shine, and you need to stop caring about all this and learn to find that peace with yourself, and you realize that all these things that you thought you needed were just chains holding you back.
Absolutely. And that feeling, that conflict is called identity dissonance. And it's the distance between who you are in your deepest self and how you're living your life. And when you have that, it's creating those feelings of anxiety, stress, burnout, or even worse, despair, failure. And when we really tap in to our truth and our identity, and we are solid and grounded in that, it gives us the courage to upset the apple cart, even if it shakes the room in the air. It gives us the courage to rock the boat if it means that we stop drowning.
Right.
And whether it's in a season of challenge or a season of growth, it gives us the ability to accept both as the beautiful gifts in this journey that they really are.
I love that. That is such a nugget of wisdom to be able to hold, especially when things seem like you can't anymore. Is there a specific time in this process where you were at a low point and you're like, you know, once you figure out what you wanted to do, and then it's like, what the heck am I doing? Where am I going? Like, I had it all, you know, where you just held through, even though you didn't have the strength to do it, you still held through.
Yes, and it absolutely wasn't where I expected it to be. When I had my lowest moment is when I looked the best on paper. And so everybody else saw the doctor, the CEO, the community leader, the guy who had it all. And inside, it couldn't have been further from the truth. I felt more removed from myself than any other point in my life. And I really had to figure out what my beliefs were that I had coded into my life and was living my life by them. And I really had to see, are these outdated codes? Are they really mine? And once I broke those down to their bare components, and then aligned with my core values, I found out that I could rewrite those beliefs and codes, not from trauma, but from truth.
I love that. I'm sure when you get to that point, little things can bring so much joy. Like a glass of water and a plant and the sunlight, the shine of the sunlight, that we took it as granted. And those little things like kind of opens, you know, you're open to all this horizon of like, wow, there's so many wonderful things about me, but I was so distracted.
It really does allow you to see the world with new eyes.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is that some of those beautiful gifts are challenges that you have to overcome. And whereas before I saw those as negatives, I polarized everything. Either everything was winning or losing. And I was robbing myself of the gifts that those challenges really brought into my life, those opportunities that I had to learn and grow and make myself a better person every day. And I really started to embrace those challenges the same way I saw my growth and my accomplishments. And that's when I felt the most centered. That's when I felt the most aligned with my core values, mimicking what I was putting into the world. And when I started doing that, the reality that was reflected back to me changed in such amazing and beautiful ways. It really, really felt like magic.
It is. I totally get you. Those things that before were just there now create excitement, and now like you feel joy for the most simplest things. Like before, you know, you needed a vacation, you needed this, and now it's like just waking up and seeing your plant, or just waking up and seeing your dog. It's just like creates that euphoria of like life is so awesome.
It really does. And I like to think that I'm no longer embodying that superficial, exterior optic, that I'm embodying who I really am.
Right.
That person that is grateful, that person that is forgiving, that person that is compassionate, that person that when others speak to, they have a safe place to be authentic without worrying about how they're going to look. And if they need someone to walk that path with them, I want them to know that I believe in them.
That's awesome. I was just talking to someone at a very low point in my life, when I was trying to commit suicide and all this stuff. I found someone who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And how important it is to have that person hold you until you can have that strength. And I know that a lot of our listeners here are in that in that cage where they're being successful, they're being great for everybody else, but behind closed doors, they feel so alone. And they can be around all these people, but no one really knows them. And that feeling of feeling so alone, even though you can have all the fame that you want and all the money and all the things that you have, but that emptiness. And it gets to a point, it's like, I can't live my life like this. If this is life, I don't want to be in this life. And to know that that doesn't have to be life, that there is another part where every day can be the best day of your life, regardless of, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have problems. You're still going to have problems, but you just have a different look. That doesn't mean that you're not going to cry. You are going to cry, but you cry with a different sense of embracing that and loving that you can feel, that you can have pain, but that can be alive. And so it's embracing your whole humanity. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are resonating and saying, how do I get out of this? What would you tell them?
I've been that person that never fit the mold. I've never been a bro. I've never been a man's man. I've never been a member of the good old boys club. So I've never minded titles like disruptor or contrarian. And what I really found out was that I just needed someone to believe in me when I didn't believe in myself. And to do that, I had to find clarity about what that meant, who I was. And so for anyone listening that's on their own journey, I would say, become very clear. Take the time. It's a courageous journey, but one that when you really know yourself, you're able to then construct clarity and boundaries around that and love yourself enough never to compromise those boundaries.
I love that. Such a beautiful nugget of wisdom. And those who are listening who want to stay connected with you and learn more about you, how can they find you?
If something that I've said has resonated with you or your audience, it's not a mistake.
Yes.
Let's explore that. All of my resources can be found at my website. So joining the beautiful growing community of the Empowerment Revolution, finding out about me, my books, how to work with me, and also there's a free quiz on the website, so maybe finding out a little bit about yourself as well. And that's all at www.drstacey, S-T-A-C-E-Y, kevinfrick.com.
Wonderful. It has been such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for shining on your own light and giving permission out to others to shine in their own light, and that it's okay to have different colors of lights because that's what makes life beautiful. And it's learning how to find your your own light. Thank you for being that for so many people and for encouraging others to find it in themselves. It has been such a pleasure to have you here today.
It's truly an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.